I have recently discovered this little gem, and it's my pleasure to share it with you. The Yashica FX3 Super. This is effectively the same camera as the Yashica FX3. The only difference that I can see is in the body design. The Super version has a hand grip for better ergonomics. There is another version of the FX3 Super, which is the FX3 Super 2000. The 2000 denotes the increased maximum shutter speed of 2,000th of a second. Back to this specific camera, the Yashica FX3 Super. It's a very well designed, handsome Japanese SLR from the 1980s. The body is made of a combination of metal and plastic, which makes it lightweight. It is finished with a delicate looking and feeling leatherette material. Along with its kit lens, it only weighs around just under 600 grams. Talking of the kit lens, this one comes with a 50mm f1.9 Yashica lens. Now, Yashica lenses are known to be quite sharp and pleasant, and I can confirm this to be true, both from this camera and the Yashica 35 GTN. The lens itself has a small profile. It's almost like a pancake lens actually, which makes it really nice. Its apertures are f1.9, f2.8, f4, f5.6, f8, f11, and f16. It also has distance markings around the lens from 0.5 meters, which is the shortest focusing distance, to infinity. The camera has the Yashica Contax mount. The lens is mounted by lining up the dots and twisting the lens in the clockwise direction until firmly locked in place. To remove the lens, there is a button at the bottom of the lens barrel. Pressing that and rotating the lens in an anti-clockwise direction releases the lens. The Yashica FX3 Super has a metal focal plane shutter with shutter speeds from 1 to 1,000th of a second, including bulb. The shutter speed is selected with the combination shutter ISO speed dial, which is on top of the camera. The possible ISO selections range from 12 to 1600 in the usual steps. There is a self-timer in front of the camera, which when engaged also activates mirror lockup. This helps reduce blur due to mirror vibration. That's a great feature. The shutter release button is right where you expect it to be. It is threaded, so it accepts shutter release cables and soft release buttons. Right next to the shutter release button is the frame counter, which resets every time the back of the camera is opened. Also on top of the camera, right next to the shutter button, is the film wind lever. Like many small SLRs, such as the Olympus OM1, these are quite tightly packed together, but somehow it doesn't really affect usability. Moving along on the top, right above the hump in the usual place is a hot shoe for mounting accessories like a flash. There is no PC sync on this camera though. On the other end is the film rewind lever, which is also how the back of the camera is opened. Pulling the lever upwards pops open the back of the camera where the film goes. This camera takes the standard 35mm film. I find loading film into this camera to be very easy indeed. Composing with the FX3 Super is quite straightforward. The viewfinder is very basic, but it's relatively large and bright. This camera is completely manual and mechanical, but it does come with a light meter which kind of advises you in the viewfinder. There's a red plus sign which tells you are overexposed, there's a red minus sign which tells you you're underexposed, and there's a green dot if you're well exposed. With my style of shooting, I usually set the exposure manually using Sony 16, but it is very appreciated to see if I'm on the money or not. The light meter is powered by two LR44 batteries which are commonly available. The batteries go into the camera at the bottom. On the bottom of the camera also are the tripod socket and the button that enables film rewind. Now for the pros and cons. I'll start with the cons for this camera since there's so few in my opinion. The first con, the build quality. It could be a little bit better, especially with the leatherette material. It's easily scratched and it easily comes off over time, leaving a gooey, gummy residue. This particular one hasn't done that, but I can see quite a few scratches on it. Having said that, some people may actually appreciate that distressed look, vintage camera and all. Second, the shutter speed ISO dial is too close to the film wind lever. This is only an issue if you're going to be changing the speed quite a lot. Otherwise, that's fine. That's it. That's all I can see. Now for the positives. The size is an obvious one. It's a little bit larger than an OM1, but it is lighter, which makes it a very good hang around the neck SLR for holidays and long street photography sessions. It is completely mechanical and fully manual. That's the second pro. The light meter is for advised purposes only. This means that you can shoot this camera without a battery forever. The lens is remarkably good. It's not Zeiss or Leica good, but is well above average. And for kit lenses in its era, it's certainly one of the best. The design. I have really fallen in love with the look of this camera. I like the all black finish as well as the ergonomic hand grip. It just feels really nice to hold and use. Now, photos. Well, it all depends, doesn't it? The film, your ability to expose correctly, your composition, etc., etc. The light meter seems to be doing its job. I put a roll through it, following the advice of the light meter solely, and more often than not, the exposure was correct, and the photos came out great. If you're after a low profile, back to basics SLR that is extremely affordable and easy to use, then this camera is for you. You will basically get great photos as expected from any good quality SLR. As a camera, it will give you all the tools that you need. A good tool to take photos with. The rest is up to you. Until next time, goodbye my friends.